the land before the name. Before Japan was Japan, before the word itself had meaning, the land existed in silence and mist. Mountain ranges folded into one another like sleeping giants. Rivers carved patient paths toward the sea. Forests whispered with unseen life. There were no emperors yet, no written laws, no cities of stone, only clans scattered across valleys and plains, each bound to the earth and the spirits they believed lived within it. This was a world without borders. Power was not measured in territory, but in ancestry. A man ruled not because he commanded armies, but because he claimed descent from the divine. Leadership was sacred before it was political. The chieftain was both war leader and priest, the bridge between human struggle and the invisible realm of the kami. Conflict was constant, but it was intimate. Small bands clashed over fertile land and river crossings. Battles were swift, brutal, and personal. Victory depended not on numbers, but on speed, endurance, and skill. The warrior of this age did not yet walk, he rode. Chapter 2. Riders of the Burial Mounds. Across the countryside rose enormous earthen tombs, shaped like keys, visible from the sky. These burial mounds were not merely graves. They were declarations, statements of power carved into the landscape itself. Around them stood silent clay figures, warriors, horses, shields, bows frozen in time. These haniwa did not depict swordsmen. They showed mounted archers, hands poised to draw, eyes fixed forward. The bow, not the blade, ruled the battlefield. Horses had come from the mainland, along with iron, armor, and new ideas of war. Those who mastered the horse dominated the land. Speed replaced brute force. Mobility replaced mass. The elite warrior became a figure of motion, striking, retreating, circling like the wind. These riders were the ancestors of something greater, though they did not know it yet. Their way of war would shape the bones of a future class. Chapter 3. The court that forgot the provinces. As centuries passed, power slowly gathered in one place. A dominant clan rose among the others and declared itself first among equals. From this lineage emerged a royal court, patterned after the great empires of the continent. Laws were written, titles were formalized. The ruler now claimed the mandate of heaven. The capital became a world unto itself, refined, ceremonial, and distant. Poetry mattered more than weapons. Silk mattered more than soil. The aristocracy cultivated beauty while the provinces burned. To control the land, the court attempted something radical. It tried to replace the old warrior bands with a national conscript army. Farmers were ordered to fight. Spears were placed in hands used to plow fields. Loyalty was demanded from men who had never seen the capital and had no reason to love it. The system failed. The peasants deserted. The borders collapsed. Banditry spread. And once again, the court turned to the only people who truly understood violence. Chapter 4. The delegation of blood power returned to the provinces, not by revolution, but by necessity. The court authorized local strongmen to raise private forces, to defend land, suppress rebellion, and collect taxes. Violence was outsourced. These local warriors were not nobles and not peasants. They lived between worlds. They trained from childhood. They rode, shot, hunted, and fought not for ideals, but for survival. Their loyalty was personal. Not to an emperor they would never see, but to the man who fed them, armed them, and stood beside them in battle. This bond, lord and retainer, became sacred. The word bushi began to carry weight. A man defined not by birth alone, but by profession. War was no longer an obligation, it was an identity. Chapter 5. The bow gives way to the blade. Over time, warfare changed. Battles grew closer. Armor grew heavier. The curved sword emerged, not as the primary weapon, but as the final one. The blade was worn edge down, drawn in a single sweeping motion from horseback. It was elegant, efficient, and deadly. The sword began to represent more than function. It became status. It became soul. An unwritten code took shape. Loyalty above life, reputation above comfort, shame worse than death. These values were not written in books. They were carved into memory through blood. The warrior was no longer just a fighter. He was a symbol of order in a chaotic land. Chapter 6. When warriors ruled the nation. Eventually, the balance broke. Two great warrior families rose above the rest. Their rivalry consumed the court, the countryside, and the emperor himself. Civil war followed. Not a single battle, but a storm that swept across the islands. Brothers turned on brothers, lords betrayed lords. Victory belonged not to the refined, but to the ruthless. From this chaos emerged a new system. The emperor remained divine, but powerless. Real authority passed to a military ruler who governed through warriors, not words. Japan entered the age of the warrior government. Chapter 7. The Price of Peace. Ironically, the greatest achievement of the warriors was peace. For generations, the land knew no major war. Castles became cities, warriors became administrators, swords became symbols worn in ceremony rather than drawn in anger. But peace is dangerous to those shaped by war. The warrior class struggled to justify itself. Without battle, what were they? Their income shrank. Their relevance faded. Merchants grew rich. Farmers endured. Warriors wrote philosophy. It was in this silence that the idea of a formal warrior code emerged. Not born in battle, but in nostalgia. An idealized past was shaped into doctrine. Loyalty, honor, and readiness for death became virtues to cling to in a world that no longer needed them. Chapter 8. The world breaks. In the silence ended with smoke. Foreign ships appeared on the horizon, driven not by wind, but by fire. Their cannons outmatched centuries of tradition. The illusion of invincibility shattered in an instant. The warrior government hesitated, compromised, signed away sovereignty, and in doing so, lost legitimacy. Young warriors rose in fury. Some demanded isolation, others demanded transformation. Swords clashed one last time, not against foreigners, but against each other. Civil war returned briefly, violently, decisively. Chapter 9. The Last Stand. The final rebellion was led by men who believed the old way still mattered. They charged rifles with swords. They fought discipline with honor. They lost. The battlefield fell silent again, but this time forever. The warrior class was dissolved. Swords were banned. Status erased by law. The samurai did not fade away. They were dismantled. Chapter 10. The Ghost That Remains. Yet something endured. The discipline. The obsession with mastery. The belief that character matters more than comfort. These ideas migrated into new forms. Education, industry, art. The warrior vanished, but his shadow remained. Today, castles are parks. Armor rests in museums. But the story still whispers. Of men shaped by violence who sought meaning beyond it. Of loyalty and ambition, honor and cruelty, silence and steel. And now, as this long journey settles into stillness, may that whisper carry you gently into rest. Chapter 11. The Weight of the Name. When war no longer defined daily life, memory did. The warrior carried the weight of his ancestors, not on his back, but in his name. A name was no longer a call to battle, but a reminder of what had been lost. Every bow unstrung, every sword left sheathed, echoed with stories of men who once rode through fire and blood. The old battlefields grew quiet. Grass reclaimed the skies. Villages expanded where armies once marched. Yet within the hearts of the warriors, the war never truly ended. They trained in courtyards instead of plains, striking wooden posts instead of living enemies. Each motion repeated not for necessity, but for remembrance. To forget was to die a second death. Chapter 12. The Warrior as Judge. With peace came responsibility. The warrior became a keeper of order, not a breaker of it. He was sent to settle disputes, collect taxes, guard roads, and suppress banditry. Violence was still his tool, but now it was regulated, restrained, and watched. Justice became ritualized. Punishment followed form. Even death was measured. This transformation reshaped the warrior's mind. Where once instinct ruled, now discipline did. Rage was no longer admired. Control was. A man who could kill without hesitation was respected. A man who could choose not to kill was revered. Strength was redefined. Chapter 13. The Quiet Philosophy. In long nights without battle, warriors turned inward. They wrote, they reflected, they argued about meaning. Schools of thought emerged, blending old beliefs with new discipline. The sword was no longer just a weapon. It became a mirror. Meditation spread among the warrior class, not to escape fear, but to sit with it, to understand death so fully that it lost its power, to move with clarity even when the world collapsed. Death was no longer the enemy, it was a companion. Chapter 14. Honor without witness. In war, honor is public. In peace, it is private. A warrior's greatest test was no longer the battlefield, but obscurity. To remain disciplined when no one watched. To remain loyal when reward was distant. To uphold values in a world that slowly forgot why those values existed. Many failed. Debt humiliated them. Merchants surpassed them. Their stipends shrank while prices rose. Pride became a burden. Some drank, some gambled, some vanished into anonymity. Others held fast, clinging to a code no longer demanded, but still believed. Chapter 15. The Ronin's Path. Not all warriors fit into the new order. Some lost their masters. Others rejected service entirely. These men became Ronin, waves without shore. They wandered from town to town, selling skill where needed. Guards, teachers, mercenaries, philosophers, criminals. To the people, they were both feared and romanticized. Dangerous reminders that peace was fragile. That order rested on memory, not permanence. The Ronin embodied freedom and the cost of it. Chapter 16. The Illusion of Stability. For generations, the system held. Laws tightened, rituals deepened. The land appeared calm, but beneath the surface, imbalance grew. The warrior ruled but did not produce. The merchant produced but did not rule. Wealth flowed upward quietly, invisibly, reshaping power without announcing it. Castles remained, authority remained, but confidence weakened. The world outside changed faster than anyone inside realized. Chapter 17. Thunder on the Horizon. The first sign was not invasion, but sound. A low, unfamiliar roar across the water. Ships that moved without wind. Weapons that shattered walls with fire. Tradition stood helpless before industry. The warrior faced a truth more terrifying than defeat. Irrelevance. Chapter 18. Choosing the future. Some clung to the past, believing spirit alone could triumph. Others embraced change with brutal clarity. The sword could not stop cannon. Honor could not stop progress. A choice emerged, not between victory and defeat, but between adaptation and extinction. The warrior split once more, brother against brother, ideal against reality, and history prepared its final test. Chapter 19. The Last Charge. The final warriors did not fight to win. They fought to prove something, to themselves, to history, to silence. Against rifles, they charged with blades. Against numbers, they charged with memory. Against time itself, they fell not as fools but as endings. The sound of steel faded, smoke cleared, and the age of the warrior closed its eyes. Chapter 20. After the Fire. When the world rebuilt, the warrior was gone, but not erased. His discipline shaped schools, his loyalty shaped institutions, his silence shaped culture. He no longer rode, he no longer ruled, but his ghost remained, in work ethic, in honor, in restraint, in the quiet pursuit of mastery. The sword slept. Chapter 21. When time outlived, steel time is patient. It outlives empires, beliefs, and blades. After the last warriors fell, the land did not mourn loudly. Rice still grew, rivers still flowed, children were still born. Life continued, indifferent to the passing of an age that had once defined everything. The swords were locked away, armor gathered dust, castles softened into scenery. The men who once carried violence as identity faded into memory, then into names, then into silence. Yet time does not erase everything. Some things do not disappear. They change form. Chapter 22. The Warrior Without a Battlefield. The descendants of warriors woke each morning with no enemy to face, no lord to serve, no war to prepare for. Instead, they learned new battles. They fought chaos with order, fear with discipline, uncertainty with routine. Where once they sharpened blades, now they sharpened minds. Where once they trained bodies for endurance, now they trained spirits for restraint. The warrior did not vanish. He adapted. Chapter 23. Discipline becomes identity. In workshops, in schools, in offices, a familiar pattern emerged. Perfection mattered. Process mattered. Mastery mattered. Work was approached not as a task, but as a path. Each repetition carried meaning. Each failure demanded reflection. Each success required humility. This was not efficiency, it was devotion. The old idea survived, that how one does something matters more than what one gains from it. Chapter 24. Loyalty Reborn. Once, loyalty was owed to a lord. Now it shifted to family, to community, to craft, to responsibility. People stayed late not because they were ordered to, but because leaving unfinished work felt like betrayal. Groups were valued over individuals. Harmony was protected even at personal cost. The battlefield was gone. The code remained. Chapter 25. Silence as strength. In the age of noise, restraint became power. Speaking less, listening more, acting only when necessary. The warrior's old calm resurfaced in unexpected places. In negotiations, in crisis, in moments when panic would have been easier. Strength no longer announced itself. It waited. Chapter 26. The stories return. As generations passed, the past returned. Not as history, but as story. Films, books.plays, songs. The warrior reappeared taller, nobler, purer than he had ever truly been. Violence softened into honor. Cruelty blurred into courage. Complexity became myth. People did not want truth. They wanted meaning, and the warrior gave it to them. Chapter 27. The Comfortable Myth. The real warrior had been human, afraid, ambitious, flawed. The legend was easier, a lone figure standing against injustice, a blade that never hesitated, a code that never bent. This myth traveled far beyond the land where it was born. It crossed oceans, inspired heroes, shaped imaginations. The warrior became universal. Chapter 28. The Shadow of Misuse. But legends are dangerous. The same ideas that once taught restraint could be twisted into fanaticism. Loyalty could become blind obedience. Sacrifice could become annihilation. Honor could excuse cruelty. When the warrior was stripped of reflection, only violence remained. History remembered this lesson painfully. Chapter 29. Relearning balance. After devastation, reflection returned. The warrior spirit was reclaimed, not as a call to fight, but as a call to live with intention, to act with responsibility, to seek mastery without domination. The blade stayed symbolic. The lesson endured. Chapter 30. What the warrior truly was. The warrior was never just a fighter. He was a response to chaos, a structure in disorder, a code in uncertainty. When his time ended, his function did not. Every era needs those willing to hold discipline when others abandon it, to carry responsibility without applause, to master themselves before trying to master the world. The ancient riders sleep beneath the earth. The castles rest beneath the sky. The swords lie quiet. But the question they asked remains. How should a human live when the world changes faster than identity? The warrior answered once with steel. Now the answer is quieter. And as the night settles and the mind grows still, may that quiet strength remind you that even in silence, meaning endures. Rest now. The journey is complete. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and comment.